Hello, and welcome to the Providence College Podcast. I'm Chris Judge. As we conclude this year's Black History Month, we wanted to share a project spearheaded by Stephanie Miracu from the Office of Alumni Relations. This year's African American Read-In brought together many members of the Providence College community, faculty, staff, students, and alumni. The program is an adapted version of the National African American Read-In, which was first created by the National Council of Teachers of English in 1990. Not included in this audio version of the read-in is a dance performance by Sokeo Ros, director of the Center at Moore Hall, but you can view the performance on YouTube and Facebook versions of this year's read-in, which will be linked in the show notes. Please enjoy this episode of the PC Podcast.
Welcome, Friar family, to the second edition of the African American Read-In at Providence College. My name is Dr. Wanda Ingram, and I am the Senior Associate Dean of Undergraduate Studies and Freshman and Sophomore Class Dean. On behalf of the then, now next 50 years of Women at Providence College Committee, which I have the honor of being a co-chair, and as a member of the historic Class of 1975, it is my pleasure to kick off this program. Today, you'll hear from many special guests from across the Providence College community who will read excerpts of African American literature, poetry, and songs. It is my honor and pleasure to start this program with the reading of Practice Makes People by Amanda Gorman. Practice makes people. The making of plans when this is over, the we can't wait, really our knuckles rapping against the future, sounding out what lies beneath its hull. But tomorrow isn't revealed, rather rendered, refined, wrought. Remember that fate isn't fought against. It is fought for, again and again. Maybe there is no fresh wisdom, just old woes. New words to name them by and the will to act. We've seen life lurching back in stops and starts, like a wet-born thing learning to walk. The air charged and changed. Us charged and changed. A yoked out eternity, for that's needle to pierce our arm, at last a pain we asked for. Yes, it is enough to be moved by what we might be.
My name is Nedzer Erilus of the class of 2003. I share with you an excerpt of a longer original piece I composed for this year's MLK celebration entitled A State of the Dream Address. You are gone, and so goes sight and sense, reason and righteousness. What now can we say of the revolution of values when values revolve around vaunted vanity and the viscera of violence? We are vexed. Oh, death did us part, death did its part, and does it still, while still we sit and scroll and swipe and screen, and still we split and slight and sink and scream, and still have not done the hours for hours. For complexion commands and complicates, and character's content is more content with characterization and criticism than the constitution of kindness and charism, than the love that lifts and liberates, than the lessons you taught from the mountaintop. We've lost the footholds of the climb, or perhaps we do not care to know. You see, we have forgotten not the way, nor the truth, nor the light. We have simply chosen other trinities. American idols trump the testaments, but this news is neither fake, nor good, nor old, nor new. Idolatry is the gross domestic product of social and political capital, and exploitative entrepreneurs engineer enterprises of extraordinary estrangement, culting fever for the favor of fervor, and finding fame and fortune even from us. You see, we have not forgotten. We have chosen and are choosing unconditionally, regardless of circumstance, seemingly on conditions of labor and languor. Mountains are too rigorous, hills too steep, and prayer too precipitous. I wish I could find a mustard seed. Maybe then we could move something more, anything more, somewhere more, anywhere more. Oh, our situation is grave. But gravity compels compliance, so we descend. Because dropping is easier than daring against. Falling is easier than fighting against. Yes, descending is easier than rising against what is and has always been the pressure of the present. You did. You dared, you fought, you railed and rallied. You arose from concrete consternation, planting a romance of hope and love for a moment or two, and momentum found you, but for a blink. Still, we behold your name on street signs and statues, in ceremony, scholarship, and service, school recesses, 3-day weekends, and second months. Yes, February is well past your birthday, but who else is there to talk about in all these 28 days? At all in 28 days, the shortest 4 weeks of any year or any phase, eternally? I guess the tales of our heroes and accomplishments are not tall enough. Legacies last, but they do not live. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Father Augustine Reisenauer, and I'm an assistant professor of theology and the director of the Center for Catholic and Dominican Studies. I would like to read one of my favorite poems by Langston Hughes entitled "Life is Fine." And what I love about this poem is that it celebrates life as worthy of being lived. Life is fine. I went down to the river. I sat down on the bank. I tried to think but couldn't, so I jumped in and sank. I came up once and hollered. I came up twice and cried. If that water hadn't been so cold, I might have sunk and died. But it was cold in that water. It was cold. I took the elevator, 16 floors above the ground. I thought about my baby and thought I would jump down. I stood there and I hollered. I stood there and I cried. If it hadn't been so high, I might have jumped and died. But it was high up there. It was high. So since I'm still here living, I guess I will live on. I could have died for love, but for living I was born. Though you may hear me holler, and you may see me cry, I'll be dog, sweet baby, if you're gonna see me die. Life is fine, fine as wine. Life is fine.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amie. I am part of the class of 2018. I also was the secretary for BMSA. Today, I'll be reading a poem by Mensa Trotman that is featured in Althea Prince's collection of essays titled "The Politics of Black Women's Hair." The reason I chose this poem was because my hair love journey actually started at PC through inspiration from the 3rd and 4th years that I met in Women Empowered. So the poem expresses a lot of my feelings and doubts that I had throughout my journey, and also greatly sums up how deeply ingrained European standards of beauty are in our culture. So the poem is titled "What the Future Hath Wrought" by Mensa Trotman. Chemically treat it, straighten it, perm it, texturize it, relax it gently. More like fry it. Is it burning? Don't scratch. Try to ignore the smell. Highlight it, rinse it. Dye it, permanently color it. Spiral, curl it. Till it grows out. Dry it with a handheld spray of hot air. Moisturize it. Cover it with a plastic cap. Pull it back. Tease it, frizz it, mousse it, gel it, spray it. Make sure it has extra hold. Holds like glue so the curls won't droop. The style won't fade. Headband it so the roots won't show. Or if it's been more than 2 months, you're best to cover it. Use the old trick of handfuls of Vaseline and blow dryer. Damage, breakage, split ends, conditioning treatments, olive oil, and mayonnaise. Placenta super grow formula, natural herbs, and steam treatments. Because we can't deviate from the norm. Gotta have long, straight hair for him to run his hands through and not get stuck. It's gotta have bounce, it's gotta have body. Can't look like a duplicate of him. Gotta look like a woman with hair that swings when you walk, hair that moves when you laugh, hair that he can run his hands through and not get stuck. So what will us women do next? In our bid to maintain the norm, we really did deviate. Because the norm before us, before our mothers, actually it was before their mothers, was kinky hair, thick hair that didn't have to swing, hair that didn't have to move, hair that didn't have a hand to go through it, unstuck, to validate its worth.
Hi, this is Melissa DuBose, Associate Judge in the Rhode Island District Court and proud member of PC Class of 90. It is a great pleasure to join you today in this year's African American Read-In. The following is an essay that I had the pleasure of crafting on behalf of the Committee for Racial and Ethnic Fairness in the Rhode Island Courts. Catalyst for this essay were the tragic events in 2020 with the deaths of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and unfortunately many others. I believe that this essay is important because it does a couple of things. First, it acknowledges the role that we, the state of Rhode Island, played in the institution of slavery here in the United States. And secondly, it's a recommitment and a reaffirmation that we as Rhode Island judges are committed to equal treatment under law for all of our court users, regardless of your race, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation. So I hope you enjoy it. And I do want to give a special thanks to my son, Cameron Harrington, who put together what I believe is a pretty cool video. So thank you and happy Black History Month.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! George Floyd!
On June 5th, 2020, more than 10,000 Rhode Islanders of all ages, races, socioeconomic, and religious backgrounds assembled on the steps of the Rhode Island State House, engaged in an historic and peaceful protest of the spate of needless deaths of Black Americans at the hands of law enforcement. More broadly, the protest was both a passionate display of grief and anger, along with a unified call to end systemic racism and discrimination that continues to plague this nation. Traditionally, the courts, by way of both custom and judicial canons, reserves comment and will not make extrajudicial statements regarding civic and political engagement. But recognizing that this is a moment of inflection for both our state and this nation, it's imperative that we lift up our voice and reaffirm our commitment to the just and equal treatment of every citizen who appeared before us. We must not remain silent in the face of such an undeniable truth, lest we risk jeopardizing the very reason we have a voice at all. From its founding, the Rhode Island story is a twin tale of both courage and controversy. It's important that we celebrate the unique contribution that our state founders played in infusing principles of religious freedom and separation of powers into the formation of our national identity. These principles were boldly codified in our state charter in 1636 and later captured so beautifully in both our state constitution and the U.S. Constitution. However, it's equally important to recognize and acknowledge the unique and preeminent role that Rhode Island played in the devastating history of slavery in the United States. Our geographically stunning coastline served as a brutal vertex along the Triangle Trade Route, resulting in the amassing of tremendous wealth amongst prominent Rhode Island slavers and unspeakable cruelty to those held in bondage. This nation's original sin, slavery, and its progeny, including Jim Crow South and institutional racism, have roots here in Rhode Island, and we are committed to confronting it within our judicial system. We want to instill confidence in the Black, Latino, Latina, and LGBTQ, and all underrepresented communities that Rhode Island courts are their courts, and we will fulfill our constitutional mandate that they will receive equal treatment under the law. We recognize that the pursuit of justice is not merely an aspirational concept or abstraction. It is a guiding imperative that we, as members of the judiciary, are duty-bound to seek. And this is what we believe.
My name is Michelle Trieu, and I'm from class of 2014. Today I have the honor of reading to you an excerpt from Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay. This is a compilation of essays written by Roxane through her lens as a bad feminist and a woman of color. Part of the essay I'd like to share with you is titled "The Racism We All Carry." This essay is interesting because it calls out subtle racism that we experience probably more often than we even realize. So let's get started. My downstairs neighbors moved out. They were Korean college students. I never met them, but they seemed nice enough. They played loud music, but it was never enough of a nuisance to complain. Who doesn't like to party? When I went to pay my rent at the beginning of the month after they left, my landlord's receptionist began detailing the extraordinary measures they were taking to air out the apartment because you just wouldn't believe the smell. I nodded because I truly had no idea what to say, and then she leaned into me and whispered, "You know how those people are." This was one of those rare moments in which I got to see the rules of racism in action in a multiracial context. A white person felt comfortable confiding in me. In that moment, we were in us conspiring against a them. I couldn't think of anything snappy, so I simply said, "I have no idea what you mean," and walked away. I wasn't interested in playing a game where we bond as we reveal our racist secret selves to each other. Later, I felt guilty. I hadn't used that moment to educate this stranger about race-based generalizations. I wonder why she thought she could reveal that causal racism in mixed company. I wondered, as I often do about people, what she truly thinks about me.
Hi, my name's Pam Tremblay. I'm the Director of Service Immersion and Social Justice in the Office of Campus Ministry, and I'm really humbled to be invited to join you all today. The poem that I selected is a poem by Maya Angelou that has been passed to me by my mom and gotten her through some tremendously difficult times. And these words have continued to be true in our family and shared among the women in our family. And that poem is Phenomenal Woman. Phenomenal woman, pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me. I walk into a room just as cool as you please, and to a man, the fellows stand or fall down on their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say, it's the fire in my eyes and the flash of my teeth, the swing in my waist and the joy in my feet. I'm a woman, phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they say they still can't see. I say, it's in the arch of my back, the sun of my smile, the ride of my breasts, the grace of my style. I'm a woman, phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, I ought to make you proud. I say, it's in the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need of my care. 'Cause I'm a woman, phenomenally, phenomenal woman. That's me.
Vote by Nikki Giovanni. It's not a hug, nor mistletoe at Christmas. It's not a colored egg at Easter, nor a bunny hopping across the meadow. It's a vote. Saying you are a citizen. Though it sometimes is chocolate or sometimes vanilla, it could be female or male. It is right or left. I can agree or disagree. But, and this is an important but, I am a citizen. I should be able to vote from prison. I should be able to vote from the battlefield. I should be able to vote when I get a driver's license. I should be able to vote when I can purchase a gun. I must be able to vote. If I'm in the hospital, if I'm in the old folks' home, if I'm needing a ride to the polling place, I am a citizen. I must be able to vote. Folks were lynched, folks were shot, folks' communities were gerrymandered, folks who believed the Constitution were lied to, burned out, bought and sold because they agreed all men and women were created equal. Folks vote to make us free. It's not cookies, nor cake, but it is the icing that is so sweet. Good for the folks, good for us, my country, 'tis of thee.
Hello, my name is Adebimpe Dare, and I am the Assistant Dean, Director of Multicultural Student Success at Providence College. So I'm sharing a piece from Langston Hughes called Census, which is based on one of the many stories he wrote around the character Jesse B. Simple from Harlem. So Simple, as he's called throughout the story, is approached by a census taker who is asking him about his existence. And he talks a little bit about all the things that he has gone through, the many hardships, his journey to get where he is, the pain and suffering that he's taken on, the highs and lows of life, and how he wants to be counted before it's all gone. And so the story relates to me as myself has gone through many hardships and journeys, and continue to find my way around, and you want to be counted. So here I share and read Census. I've had so many hardships in this life, said Simple, that is a wonder I'll live until I die. I was born young, Black, voteless, poor, and hungry in a state where white folks did not even put Negroes on the census. My daddy said he were never counted in his life by the United States government, and nobody could find a birth certificate for me nowhere. It were not until I come to Harlem that one day a census taker dropped around to my house and asked me where I was born and why. Also my age, and if I was still living. I said, yes, I'm here in spite of it all. All of what? Asked the census taker. Give me the data. All my corns and bunions for one, I said. I were born with corns. Most colored people get corns so young, they must be inherited. As for bunions, they seem to come natural. We stand on our feet so much. These feet of mine have stood in everything from soup lines to the draft board. They have supported everything from a packing trunk to a hungry woman. My feet have walked 10,000 miles running errands for white folks and another 10,000 trying to keep up with colored. My feet have stood before altars, at crap tables, bars, graves, kitchen doors, welfare windows, and Social Security railings. Be sure and include my feet on that census you're taking, I told the man. Then I went on to tell him how my feet have helped to keep the American shoe industry going, due to the money I have spent on my feet. I have worn out 700 pairs of shoes, 89 tennis shoes, 44 summer sandals, and 202 loafers. The socks my feet have bought could build a knitting mill. The razor blades I have used cutting away my corns could pay for a razor plant. Oh, my feet have helped to make America rich, and I'm still standing on them. I stepped on a rusty nail once, and mighty near had lockjaw. And from my feet up, so many other things have happened to me, since it is a wonder I made it through this world. In my time, I have been cut, stabbed, run over, hit by a car, trumped by a horse, robbed, fooled, deceived, double-crossed, dealt seconds, and mighty near blackmailed. But I'm still here. I have been laid off, fired, and not rehired. Jim Crowed, segregated, insulted, eliminated, locked in, locked out, locked up, left holding the bag and denied relief. I have been caught in the rain, caught in jails, caught short with my rent, and caught with the wrong woman, but I'm still here. My mama should have named me Job instead of Jesse B. Simple. I have been underfed, underpaid, undernourished, and everything but undertaken. Yet I'm still here. The only thing I'm afraid of now is that I'll die before my time. So man, put me on your census now this year, because I may not be here when the next census comes around. The census man said, what do you expect to die of? Complaining? No, I said, I expect to ugly away, at which I thought the man would laugh. Instead, he nodded his head and wrote it down. He was white and did not know I was making a joke. Do you reckon that man really thought I am homely? Thank you for listening.
Ride on, King Jesus. No man cannot hinder me. Ride on, King Jesus. Ride on. No man cannot hinder me. No man cannot hinder me. Ride on, King Jesus. No man cannot hinder me. Ride on, King Jesus. Ride on. No man cannot hinder me. No man cannot hinder me. Ride on, King Jesus. No man cannot hinder me. Ride on, King Jesus. Ride on. No man cannot hinder me. No man cannot hinder me. Ride on, King Jesus. No man cannot hinder me. Ride on, King Jesus. Ride on. No man cannot hinder me. No man cannot hinder me. In that great day of morning, fairly well, fairly well. In that great day of morning, fairly well, fairly well. In that great day of morning, fairly well, fairly well. In that great day of morning, fairly well, fairly well. When I get to heaven, gonna wear a robe. No man cannot hinder me. When I get to heaven, gonna wear a robe. No man cannot hinder me. Gonna see King Jesus sitting on the throne. No man cannot hinder me. Gonna see King Jesus sitting on the throne. No man cannot hinder me. Gonna walk all over those streets of gold. No man cannot hinder me. Gonna walk all over those streets of gold. No man cannot hinder me. Ride on, King Jesus. No man cannot hinder me. Ride on, King Jesus. Ride on. No man cannot hinder me. No man cannot hinder me. Ride on, King Jesus. No man cannot hinder me. Ride on, King Jesus. Ride on. No man cannot hinder me. 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 No. 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 No man cannot hinder
Hi, my name is Brianna Harper. I'm a senior here at Providence College, and I will be reading a portion of Teaching to Transgress by Bell Hooks. Today, we live in the midst of the floundering. We live in chaos, uncertain about the possibility of building and sustaining community. The public figures who speak the most to us about a return to old-fashioned values embody the evils King describes. They are most committed to maintaining systems of domination, racism, sexism, class exploitation, and imperialism. They promote a perverse vision of freedom that makes it synonymous with materialism. They teach us to believe that domination is natural, that it is right for the strong to rule over the weak, the powerful over the powerless. What amazes me is that so many people claim not to embrace these values, and yet our collective rejection of them cannot be complete since they prevail in our daily lives. These days, I am compelled to consider what forces keep us from moving forward, from having that revolution of values that would enable us to live differently. King taught us to understand that if we are to have peace on earth, that our loyalties must transcend our race, our tribe, our class, and our nation. Long before the word multiculturalism became fashionable, he encouraged us to develop a world perspective. Yet, what we are witnessing today in our everyday life is not an eagerness on the part of neighbors and strangers to develop a world perspective, but a return to narrow nationalism, isolationisms, and xenophobia. These shifts are usually explained in new right and neoconservative terms as attempts to bring order to the chaos, to return to an idealized past. The notion of family evoked in these discussions is one in which sexist roles are upheld as stabilizing traditions. Nor surprisingly, this vision of family life is coupled with a notion of security that suggests we are always most safe with people of our same group, race, class, religion, and so on. No matter how many statistics on domestic violence, homicide, rape, and child abuse indicate that, in fact, the ideal patriarchal family is not a safe space, that those of us who experience any form of assault are more likely to be victimized by those who are like us, rather than by some mysterious, strange outsiders. These conservative myths persist. It is apparent that one of the primary reasons we have not experienced the revolution of values is that a culture of domination necessarily promotes addiction to lying and denial.
Hi, my name is Adetola Abiade, and I graduated in the class of 1995. Music is poetry, and poetry is music, and I am grounded every day in my faith and focusing on the importance of being present. And there is a quote that inspires me from Martin Luther King that I always hold dear in my heart. And it is the quote that says, "Faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase." And when I need to reset, when I need to slow down before I go fast, when I have doubts, when I need to pick myself up or focus on being resilient and having courage and being inspired, I tap into music. But music does not create itself. It's the lyrics and the wisdom of the lyrics that make it so. So I am going to sing a song. It's a gospel song called "I Know Who Holds Tomorrow." And that is poetry for me. And I hope you feel what I feel when I sing a piece of this music for you right now. I don't know about tomorrow. I just live from day to day. I don't borrow from its sunshine, for its skies may turn to gray, and I don't worry about my future. Oh, I know what Jesus said, and today He walks beside me, for He knows what lies ahead. Many things about tomorrow I don't seem to understand.
Hi, my name is Ann Manchester-Molak, Executive Vice President and member of the class of 1975. I'm honored to share today's final reading, taken from a book called The Souls of Black Folks, published in 1903 by William DuBose, a Black historian, scholar, and sociologist. DuBois' same passages more recently are referenced by Nicole Hannah-Jones, creator of the recently published New York Times 1619 Project. Your country? How came it yours? Before the Pilgrims landed, we were here. Here we have brought our 3 gifts and mingled them with yours. A gift of story and song, soft, stirring melody in an ill-harmonized and unmelodious land. The gift of sweat and brawn to beat back the wilderness, conquer the soil, and lay the foundations of this vast economic empire 200 years earlier than your weak hands could have done it. The third, a gift of the spirit. Around us, the history of the land has centered for thrice 100 years. Out of the nation's heart, we have called all that was best to throttle and subdue all that was worst. Fire and blood, prayer and sacrifice have billowed over this people, and they have found peace only in the altars of the God of right. Nor has our gift of the Spirit been merely passive. Actively, we've fought their battles, shared their sorrow, mingled our blood with theirs, and generation after generation have pleaded with a headstrong, careless people to despise not justice, mercy, and truth, lest the nation be smitten with a curse. Our song, our toil, our cheer, and warning have been given to this nation in blood brotherhood. Are not these gifts worth the giving? Is not this worth the striving? Would America have been America without her Negro people? This is our national truth. America would not be America without the wealth from Black labor, without Black striving, Black ingenuity, Black resistance. So much of the music, the food, the language, the art, scientific advances, athletic renown, fashion, guarantees of civil rights, oratory, and intellectual inspiration that we export to the world, that draws the world to us, comes forth from Black Americans, from the people born on the water. This is Black Americans' legacy to this nation. We cannot change the hypocrisy upon which we were founded. We cannot change all the times in the past when this nation had the opportunity to do the right thing and chose to return to its basest inclinations. We cannot make up for all the lives lost and dreams snatched, for all the suffering endured. But we can atone for it. We can acknowledge the crime. And we can do something to try to set things right, to ease the hardship and hurt of so many of our fellow Americans. It is one thing to say you do not support reparations because you did not know the history, that you did not understand how things done long ago helped create the conditions in which millions of Black Americans live today. Nationalized amnesia can no longer provide the excuse. None of us can be held responsible for the wrongs of our ancestors. But if today we choose not to do the right thing and necessary thing, that burden we own. Thank you for watching today's program and for joining us in this celebration of Black History Month. I hope this event has inspired you, as it has for me, to continue to learn more about the many contributions of African American artists, scholars, and writers beyond today and beyond the month of February. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Providence College Podcast. You can watch the read-in on YouTube and Facebook using the links in the show notes. Please rate and review the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Email podcast@providence.edu with feedback. Thanks for listening, and go Friars.